Well, I would like to call our panelists over the stage. Dr. Rima Chowdhury, President Global CHRO, CSR Leader from Datamatics. Please welcome Ms. Dr. Rima Chowdhury. Next, Ms. Divya Madaan, Director, Special Initiative, Digital Enterprise Asia, Sun Life. Please welcome Ms. Divya. Next, we have Ms. Mehjabeen Aalam, Chief Digital and Information Officer, Raychem RPG Limited. Please welcome Ms. Mehjabeen Aalam. Next, we have Ms. Shilpa Joshi, Whole-Time Director and CFO, Novartis India. Please welcome Ms. Shilpa Joshi. Next, we have Ms. Neetu Maheshwari, CEO and CTO ANZ. Please welcome Ms. Neetu Maheshwari. And to moderate this session, I would like to invite Ms. Mamsi, our Associate Director at APE. Please, hear an applause to our amazing panel. All right, Mamsi, panel is yours. Over to you. Thank you.
Wow. Good evening, ladies. It's so nice to see all of you. It's my privilege and honor to be here. And the hall is completely colorful. So kudos to all of you. I think we're also looking elegant. So thanks for joining. And welcome the panelists as well. It's my privilege and honor to have you here. And we're going to talk about leadership. We have different ladies from different functions, different industries. We'll be discussing in length about us, and we'll be celebrating us, right? But before we begin, let me tell you a small story. Let me tell you a quick story about a girl who wanted to pursue her career when it comes to in brewing industry. And this is years back. She wanted to disrupt the market, become a name in the market. But unfortunately, after her education and after upskilling herself, she did not get an opportunity because of how the environment was. We did speak in length in the previous session about how the gender biasness happens, and so did she face back in those days, where she didn't get an opportunity to make her mark. She didn't even get a job. So she decided that I'll start all by myself. She started her own company where they started producing enzymes for alcoholic beverages, for paper, and various other things. But then the journey was very tough. She started facing challenges from her own employees, where employees were a bit uncomfortable working with a woman in that industry. She started facing challenges from her investors. She also started facing challenges from her own vendors, where they were not comfortable talking to a woman and wanted a male counterpart. But then the journey didn't end there. She kept pursuing herself. She kept enabling her leadership style. And then there was a drastic change in the organization. The organization became the #1 company when it comes to producing enzymes. She also bagged a lot of awards, became the richest lady in India in 2004-05. Also was given the highest civilian award, the Padma Bhushan. So when we talk about leadership, leadership is not about taking charge. Leadership is about taking care of all of them who are under your charge. That's leadership. With this note, we'll start talking to these wonderful women out here. But any guesses who I'm talking about? Who's this lady? It's Kiran Majumdar, you're right. And the company is Biocon Pharmaceuticals. So let's celebrate all of us today. And let me begin by asking, I would ask Mehjabeen this question that we would like to understand your journey. How has been your journey? What has made you a persistent person in your industry? And how has been your leadership style?
Thanks, Mamsi. What's on? I'm audible enough. Okay. So, no? No? Yeah? It's working. Okay, thanks. So, should be fine. Thanks, thank you. So, first of all, very overwhelmed before I even answer about, my journey, but very overwhelmed to see a room full of women and women. I'm assuming most of you are in one form or another working professionals. You are doing the stuff that you all want to do. There are a few faces here which I already know. We keep meeting in tech forums and but not many in tech forums. I've been talking to somebody the other day that when we go in tech forums, there'll be a room full of like 100, 150 men, and there'll be this one table in one corner with 10, 12 women CIOs, and I mean, that's about it. And you can, just sprinkle us like confetti all over, and that's about it. But yeah, having said that, thank you so much for all of you for coming. We are incidental. You are the people who are going to be here someday, and that's the hope and aspiration that we have. There was one lady here, I couldn't see her face while she was talking because I was sitting in that corner, who ended the note here, and she said one very profound thing that we don't understand how blessed we are for having had the opportunity to be here, rather than we finding out that, okay, this is some place where I would want to have a contention upon. So I would say that I came from a very privileged background in the sense that the hygiene that a girl should be educated and should have the option of a career was already there. So that's the one bit that I didn't have to fight for, and I would say that that's like 80-90% of your battle won. After that, whatever you face in terms of restrictions or limitations, that okay, you have to be out only by this time, you have to home by this time, you can only go to women or your female classmates for notes, etc., and you cannot be friends with many boys, etc. Those are like transactional and stuff that you can maneuver around. But the basic hygiene of having the freedom to have education and to choose a career was already there. So in that sense, I would say that I come from a very privileged background. I had the option to study, to choose a career for myself. I also had an ecosystem which was very progressive. So I had women in my house who were like working. So my fufis or my buas were the one who were like principals in schools. They were teachers. So we had working professionals in home. My dad was a government officer. And I still remember, and this one incident left a profound impact on me, is one evening when he came home, and we had this, tradition that he'd come home and then he'll ask me, okay, what did you do in school today? Bring your timetable out and show me. Ye period mein kya padhai hui? And when we were discussing that, he mentioned that that day in the government office, there was a lady senior official who had come down for a review or for an audit. And he spoke very highly of her with a lot of respect. And he was like that everybody was so impressed that having a woman in an office full of men in a government setup, and she coming and asking questions, adding value, talking so intelligently. He spoke with a lot of respect and appreciation for her, and that made me think that, okay, this is something which is celebrated, this is something which is looked upon. So why not aspire to be someone who can go and add value where there are not many women? And with that kind of an upbringing, I had the opportunity to study, do what I do. I had always been inclined towards science. So there was never a push. I always liked science. It was always fascinating for me. So that's how I got into the stream. And then as luck would have it, one thing into another, I got into tech. And I got into companies, and I kind of, moved on. And I am where I am today for a combination of a lot of things. Started off with my parents. I was persistent. And then through the journey, I found many mentors. So I was never shy of walking up to people and tell them, I don't know this. Can you help me out? And it didn't matter if it was a woman or it was a guy. I would just walk up and say, I need help. Can you help me out? Can you guide me? And advices, solicited, unsolicited, some of them, they always help you kind of, figure your way through in your career journey. So I think I've always been very open for help. I've had a mind of my own. I've done my own stuff. I've taken chances. I've failed. I've won. So it's been a combination of things. But most importantly, I have been blessed to come from a point where this thing was allowed. And I think that is something that we probably, if we can build a culture where we can form that ecosystem that people have the option of doing what they want to do, especially women, I think we'll be having a much bigger room than this the next time you hold this event.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's wonderful. Yeah, great to know. But when we talk about leadership, I think decision-making comes as we move down the journey. Dr. Rima, I want to ask you, you deal with, you are from the HR industry, and I'm sure this is a part of your daily job, right? What key decisions have you taken during, and which has pivoted your career? And how has been your journey towards leadership?
Thank you so much. And again, I would start by congratulating the organizers for thinking of a forum like this and for putting together a panel which is cross-functional. Honestly, we don't have too many such forums. Either it's a CFO gang or a CHRO gang, that's what you see. But I guess this is a wonderful dimension, and I so looked forward to the co-learning that would happen today, not only from my fellow panelists, but also all of you who are sitting there, because I was listening into the questions and comments that were there in the earlier session as well. Thank you for that. So, Mamsi, to your question, of course, there have been multiple decisions that I have taken throughout my life. And typically, if I talk about the different phases, I have taken decision as a girl. I have taken decision as a professional, as a mother, as a daughter. So as a girl, I felt that in our society, probably choosing a partner, choosing the right partner is an underrated priority. So I happened to like somebody in college, and I decided to be with that person throughout my life. And then we got married after almost 9 years post-engineering college. So that's a decision I took as a girl. As a professional, I have taken a conscious decision to be a part of diverse industry domains. You know, perhaps it would have been easy for me to join a manufacturing company and then, move to another one, because I could use some of those insights and learnings easily into the next one, but I have not done that. I have moved from manufacturing to ITES, to media and entertainment, to IT, and I have also done a stint as professor and HOD of HR at a B school, where one of my responsibilities was also to teach and train our defense forces in some of the management concepts. So these are all different decisions, and each one of it comes with a certain challenge. For example, after a corporate career with companies like IBM, Sony, Haldia Petrochemicals, in the Tata Group, when I decided to take that plunge as an academician. And typically, and this is something which you would all know, the income reduces to almost 1/5 of what it is in the corporate sector. But I knew that this is going to do me a world of good. It's almost like sharpening my sword differently, and it's about utilizing my PhD degree. And I knew that corporate world doesn't really give a damn to your academic qualification. It's all about application. But the academic world does respect that, and I get an opportunity to groom young minds, which was a big thing for me. As a daughter, after I lost my mother, I had taken a decision that my dad should be with me wherever I am, even if my household has my in-laws as well. So my father lives with us. We live together in a setup. And of course, that's a huge adjustment at multiple levels. So I know I'm a very caring daughter, but I also have this entire ecosystem where actually there are two families living, and I have to ensure that multiple things are taken care of, right? So that is something which I strongly believe is possible only if you have the right spirit and the practical approach to it, that certain things would need special attention. As a mother, so I have probably died 1,000 deaths when, after delivering my daughter, within 15 days, I had to be a part of different official assignments and stuff. So when the lift door would close and my mother-in-law would be holding my small daughter in her arms and, try to make her say bye-bye to me, I would think, is this really what I want? Can't I take a break for some time and then get back to corporate career? But then I had a long, hard talk with myself that I could do that. But for me, the time that I lost in doing that, I shouldn't be having regrets at a later stage in life that I sacrificed something for my daughter. I compromised on something. I can't live with regret. So I have to choose which is a world that I want to be a part of, and I have to check, can I do justice to both? I can never be a perfect professional or a perfect mother, but a balance is all that I need. And if we are at peace with what we do, I believe if we like what we do, we are actually not fighting any demon inside or outside, because then we are at complete peace with ourselves. So these are multiple decisions that have shaped my journey on and off. And perhaps the biggest thing of it all is never give up. There would be lots of tough situations, and we have all dealt with, at some point in time or the other, toxic culture or maybe personal challenges and all of that. It's important to not give up. Thank you.
Wonderful. I think all of us with kids can definitely resonate to what you mentioned when you said you died 1,000 times. Right. I think all of us want to reach that leadership position. All the women out here want to build a career. We're all working. We did hear a word, aggressive, and at times you have to be. Shilpa, I would like to ask you, in this leadership journey of yours, you have seen multiple things. You have worked with different functions. You are heading the finance of your organization. Different cultures you have seen in India, across the globe. How have you faced the challenge and overcome that and maintained and reached your leadership journey? How did you overcome those challenges? That will also help our audience as well to learn.
Yeah, sure. Am I audible? Yeah. So again, as Rima said, so I resonate a lot with her in my personal experiences. And also leadership journey starts from your home to some extent, because like when I started way back in 93, at my home people were not used to, because that time generally ladies used to work more in banks or LICs. So they were not used to, working for long hours in the private industry. So that's something like that change management started from home, that educating not only at your home, but maybe your relatives, which will taunt you at times for not being available. But something like it starts from your personal journey. And as far as within the organization, I would say, like, so I have changed roles almost every 2 years, or I have accepted some new responsibilities in my existing role for me to keep on continuously developing. And that was my passion actually, and my passion has driven me a lot in my entire journey. So when you pick up any new role, it's first, like I used to be always anxious because I'm accepting new role, what I was doing for last 2.5 years. I'm going into a very different role with different stakeholders, with different teams to manage, and whether I will able to deliver it. So this used to be always my anxiety, and I suppose that anxiety drove me actually to deliver, up to the expectations of my role. But having said that, it is not always easy because at every role you have different stakeholders, and that stakeholder management becomes very important if you have to succeed. Also, you have to have a lot of support of your team. Now, each team is a different team, and they look towards you as your leader, as your manager, and then you really need to understand what are the requirements, their development needs, their aspiration, and how can you manage them well, and also whether they are coinciding with your organizational goals. So all these things, really you have to marry together, and then only you will able to get good support of your team. So in your leadership journey, unless and until, that's what I believe, that you have support from your manager as well as your team, you will not able to succeed in any given role. So whenever I thought that whenever I succeeded, it's because of my team, and the team succeeded because of it. So that had remained my outlook throughout my journey, that how can I develop my team, how can I, develop a career roadmap for them if they were having aspirations, because I've been working with multinationals, so whether if they have an aspiration to go abroad or take a job in some other country, whether how will I develop those opportunities for them. So that is something that I've always thought of. So that I would say is the most important part of a leadership journey.
Right. Well said. Thank you. Right. Divya, I want to ask you, you come from the technology background, and there is, when we talk about growth today, innovation today, technology has to go in hand. You have to be updated, right? what have you seen? What are the technology adoption in your industry and decisions that you have made, which has also helped you to scale in this leadership role?
Thanks for that question. I think we all have been talking a lot about the emerging technologies and its adoption in the industry today. I have diverse experience of 22 years. I have worked across retail and BFSI domains. Right now, I am into a digital transformation role for the insurance industry. So insurance sector has been a laggard so far because of the regulatory compliance and data sensitivity that we have across. So we have adopted digital transformation and emerging technology adoption very late. But recently, 5 to 7 years, the trend has gone upward and the velocity of digital transformation has drastically increased. So one notable example that I have seen, that we have a business vertical of claims processing, which is our bread and butter, because when a client buys a policy from insurance company, then the claim processing has to be so good, such a good experience for that client, that it becomes, returning business for us. And then with the word of mouth, this is what impacts the bottom line of any insurance company. So without talking about my own organization, I can give one example of Lemonade in the US. They have gone from days of, processing a claim to 3 seconds. I mean, this sounds like magic, and it is really magic happening over there with the AI-driven technology that they have implemented. I really want to talk about it a little. What they have done, it's very interesting. They have implemented a AI gym. It's a claims bot. So when the claimant, that person enters the claim into the mobile app, the AI gym chatbot, it asks the claimant to record a video explaining the incident of what happened, why that person is asking for a claim. Now, there they have implemented behavioral science. So what they have done, they have implemented natural language processing. They scan the eye movement, body language, gestures, face expressions, tonality, pitch of the voice, and how many fillers the person is using. With that, they do 2 things. Number 1, by asking the claimant to do that video recording, through behavioral science, they have already created a psychological deterrent in the mind. That when you are speaking, when you are being dishonest, then you already, your gestures will change, right? Huh? Yeah. And then what they do is, on that basis, they assign an honesty score. So this is called an honesty pledge, and on that basis, they assign an honesty score. Now, when the AI gym receives a claim, then it interprets the entire data, cross-references the policy of that policyholder, and run 18 anti-fraud algorithms. Please be mindful, all this is happening in 3 seconds. Okay. Now, the algorithms are being run, and over the period of time, they have implemented supervised and unsupervised machine learning on large data volumes to make it more accurate for every person. Yeah. And then within 3 seconds, after all of this processing through artificial intelligence, they initiate the bank transaction also. All of this is happening. So how much time I have taken to explain it? So this is the impact of technology. I mean, I was so overwhelmed after reading it as a case study. And recently they published that they've done it in 2 seconds also. I was really awed. I come from... Yeah. So... Yes. That is being taken care by the machine learning algorithms. No. Within all of this processing, they are running the anti-fraud algorithms to identify if it is an illegitimate or a legitimate claim. They do it within this all processing.
So 1 minute, if I can chip in, sorry.
Yeah.
I being a CFO, huh?
I want to finish
That was
my
a good
question.
intervention.
No, I want to finish my question. I'm saying end of the day, it's a machine, right? Because human is human and machine is machine. I'm a filmmaker, we have AI. I don't care, won't get emotions, we say. So same way, it's a machine. There is obviously going to be some percentage of inaccuracy, for sure. How do you make up for it? It's a loss percentage that you have. What do you have? Like, that I would like to know.
I think over here she's just giving an example.
I'm not from that
what
company.
She's giving an example from what she has learned. Yeah.
But I will give some other analogy. So even if you understand that there is a 1% error of chance, just hypothetically assume
There
that
will be 3 to 5% error of chance.
could be. What would be the value of claim and what the amount of savings they are generating? If you try to balance it out, the amount of savings they are generating would be humongous as compared to the loss that they would be incurring. So at the end of the day, still whatever they are doing is much more valuable and they would be generating much more profit out of it.
Coming to the impact of technology through these algorithms and through this implementation, their agents are able to focus more on client building, relationship building. Their employees get an opportunity to learn all the emerging technologies and they are giving a good client experience through which they are able to generate more business, directly impacting the bottom line of the company. So this is the impact of technology on insurance, and there is so much, many more impact on technology that has already happened on the retail side of business. But yeah.
So maybe we can take the questions after the end of the session, ma'am. Yeah, thank you. So what you're saying is that as leaders, you have to know what is a trend,
Yes.
what is happening in technology. I think that's what you're trying to convey.
Yes. See, because I come from a digital transformation background, if I do not equip myself with this kind of information and
Absolutely.
trending technology, I cannot do anything for Sun Life.
Right, right. So that's one way to reach that up the ladder,
Yes.
knowing what's happening around the world and across the globe. Great, thank you. But we're talking about leadership. Let's go back to the stats. When I was preparing for this, what I observed is that there's not a large percentage of women who are there sitting in that position. Only 18% women in India hold the leadership position as per the stats, and 28% across the globe. I want to ask you, Neetu, why only few women reach that place? What differently we should do, and what is your take on it?
Thank you. And before I start on that, I would also like to say a good hello to all you guys. Fresh faces. Feels good after a mundane day at work at the bank where you see limited people inside. Really feels good seeing all the fresh, happy faces. Well, yes, the number is shockingly correct. While we don't believe, but it is true that it's only 18% of women in India who are making up to the managerial level. And when we say managerial level, it's not director level. It starts directly from manager, VP, and beyond. And that's the entire cohort is just all of 18 to 19%. And I mean, at the time when India is seeing maximum of women qualify in education. So if you see the number of women graduating or moving into high school or passing out is almost 48%, which India has never seen before. These high numbers with women qualifying, even if you see after qualification, how many of them are actually entering the corporate life force? It actually falls down at entry level to 29 to 30%. And then after coming at 30%, even if it comes to 30% who enter the corporate force, what happens that it gets it down to 19%. Globally, it's still 28. India is only at 19%, 18 to 19%. Last year it was 18. This year they're saying it's moved slightly up to 19%. The fact is that there are so many of, and all of us are aware, so many of socioeconomic stigmas that you need to go through, especially after high school. So many of them get married, they're not allowed to work. Some where they are allowed to also work is only in places which are family run. You are not allowed to step out. And this is, I'm not talking about the rural areas alone. We've seen this even in smaller towns. I mean, when we go recruiting, even as a bank, even my past 26 years now in banking, and when we've gone even seeing smaller cities to recruit people for the right job, people come on interviews and actually ask you, ma'am, will there be more women here in the branch, or will I be the only one? I said, does it matter to you? Because very often we just put our head down, work, talk to the customer. Yes, ma'am, my parents will not let me accept the offer till I don't know this. So this prevails. This actually is a state even today where parents, even for educated women, are trying to ask them, oh, where are you working? Who are the people around you? If they are familiar faces that we know, yes, go ahead. If we don't, maybe we move back. So that's dropping it from, say, 40, 45, 50, 45, 48% to 30. At least they enter. After entering, the 30% who enters, what happens there? Again, lots of what you heard, a stigma to, oh, she's going to take maternity leave soon. Will she join back? Now government has changed it from 3 months to 6 months. What is the surety she'll come back after 6 months? If she comes back, what is her demand for work-life balance? Will she be as productive as she was before pregnancy? I mean, these are questions, even when somebody talks to us, we kind of look up saying, which generation are you in? You're asking us this question? But these questions are there. These questions are prevalent. I mean, I was hearing the previous conversation with the speaker. I remember a boardroom statement saying, oh, 1 rose and 12 thorns. This is inside a boardroom by a senior board member. You've got the freshness in. I said, thank you. You will also see my freshness in my thoughts and the work I've done for this presentation. I mean, how else do you handle? You can't be rude to them. You can't say, sorry, these comments are not okay. You try to say that sexual harassment, yes, it's a good thing. There's a lot of work happening and you'll be seeing a lot of seminars on sexual harassment. What happens? Investigation goes on. I've been on the sexual harassment committee now for almost 16 to 18 years with multiple banks. Investigation goes on. You try to prove, yes, it was a claim. But gradually, before even the verdict is out, the manager's already told, the boss has already told the person's manager, listen, phase her out. Phase her out, get a male member in her place. This is happening. It is happening. I'm seeing it in banking. There was a case which went right up to RBI. RBI said, look, I need the bank's sexual harassment committee to actually tell us what has happened here. Okay, the committee had to go a bit biased because the person who had made the comment was very, very senior. What do you do in these cases? My only advice to all my team members, to the ones I mentor, has been, guys, speak up. Just speak up. You saw that on the board too. I think being quiet is only adding more to our woes than to pulling us out of the situation. You will sometimes, if you stay quiet and listen to these things, you will sometimes take a call to walk out rather than staying back. And as you move up in the corporate ladder, the politics only increases. It is a way of life. It's not in India alone. I've been with all global banks all throughout. It is everywhere. Best is to very politely put your view out. Again, the most important thing that I feel, the status quo that stops us from becoming a woman leader is the same status quo that stops a man from childcare and family support. It is a stigma. Oh, you're at home taking care of a kid? Oh, what happened? You're divorced, is it? You don't have a wife? Your wife has passed away? What is it? Why can't he stay at home one day when the wife is busy with work? Suddenly he's become a divorced person. That you have to take care of a kid. I've heard, and when I heard this conversation in office, the guy was smart enough as to say, I respect my wife's duties. She also works. So I can stay at home sometimes. But guys, it's not easy. We have to kill that stigma that's also on the men. It's not that the men don't want us to prosper. It's just that the men go through a lot of social stigma themselves too. And we need to see how we help them overcome this or face this or answer to this rather than we trying to only move our way. I think it's a two-way battle. Once you kind of do that, you also get enough assistance. Again, coming back to, obviously, one was your sexual harassment biases. The second one was where you have internal biases, like I call it, or subtle biases, indirectly trying to point out, oh, but you have other home responsibilities. I have seen women answer back saying, haven't you heard women are very good at multitasking? Leave it to me. I'll do the work. I can handle this also and I can handle that also. But these are women who've actually spoken up. So I think my way out is we shouldn't be quiet at all.
Right. That's the women's side of the story, right? We now know what we have to do and what we don't have to do. Please help me understand on the other side. how do you think organizations can support women in reaching the leadership role?
Lots of things we've been trying to do, and I have friends in industry who've been also trying to propagate the same thing. One is have policies for recruitment as well as for promotion, transparent ones. Let people see what is the policy basis which you recruit. Very often you come out saying, oh, I need more women. What did you do for having more women? Did you actually tell HR 50% of the CVs that have to come in have to be shortlisted basis it being women? I was with Morgan Stanley, and Morgan Stanley strongly propagated this. They said, we've only received male CVs, either we shun the role or we publicize it again, maybe LinkedIn, maybe more, and we get in more female CVs as well. Only then the role will go through. So there are organizations who are doing this today. I think across the industry, more and more is needed. Next is you need mentors. We as women will have to mentor the other women. Quite a few of them, I mean, unlike us and unlike what I heard from the other panelists too, we are just fortunate. We are blessed. We've been brought up in families where speaking up was okay. Everywhere else, women are told quiet. Don't open your mouth, you'll lose your job. Be there, be where you are. Maybe if you open your mouth, you will lose that as well. So they need role models to actually guide them, to tell them, look, this is fine. And very often, you reach at a stage where you can't take a decision. You see both the ways. That is a point in time where you need them to actually take a call. Not that you're taking a call for them, but you're kind of putting out those questions which help them take a call. The next, which I feel is most important, is upskilling. And I heard from Shilpa that every 2 years she's changed her role. Every 1.5 to 2 years, in my 26 years, I have also changed a role. Now you would have seen COO and CTO. By qualification, I'm a risk and finance domain person. I have not done anything in technology, but I today write technologies myself. So kind of just moving across roles, upskilling myself, learning a new skill, gives me, it's like I've conquered that part of the world too. That feeling that, okay, fine, the Brits went from Europe to maybe Portuguese, and then to India, and then to Australia. So you feel like you've kind of learned almost every area. You are now not as vulnerable. You can move from one to another. I think it's important that you, wherever you mentor or wherever you feel, or maybe even for yourself, change is inevitable. Get the change in, upskill yourself, try and get wherever you feel women are not being able to speak up, try and get them a mentor. So few areas which I think if corporates move in a bit to do, and then of course sponsorships, very often you see, even for like women who are like a very start level, they may not even have mobile phones. Why? Because house has only 2 phones and the brother and the father are using it. Okay, in such cases, how easy is it to tell them, oh, why don't you go and take this course, it'll help you to grow. Getting them simple sponsorships, trying to have organizational policy where, for certain people, at least you can pull out some sponsorships. These are areas which actually organizations can put in so that women can work further.
Right, thank you.
Absolutely. So RTW is a concept which is now maybe from 2017 or 2018. If you will see lots of ads even in paper, return to work, RTWs. This is really, really being publicized. A lot of women, again, when they were setting up this policy in my past organization, the problem was and this was specifically male members, I have to quote it because I literally fought out on that, said, look, if we are getting a person to return back, we should take the person at the level at which he was or maybe a level below. And my point was, why? Just because a person has stayed at home for 2 years, you are assuming that she has not read enough. Sitting at home for a person who was working, she must have finished reading everything in the market. Maybe she's more capable than the rest of the guys. Keep it open. Let's evaluate. I'm not saying we should always give a higher role. I'm saying let's evaluate. And basis evaluation, we take a call on where the person fits. But you're right to say, RTW policies are not in. Every organization, even if they promote return to work, they are trying to cut corners. Oh, we are getting this qualified person cheap. That is something where we need some policies coming out.
Great. I'm going to move to another sensitive topic. I think we've been talking about gender-specific challenges a lot, and I think most of us would have faced that in our career. Mehjabeen, I want to ask you, how do we navigate them? How do we handle that?
Want to know specifically in tech or like, because a lot in general is already something which...
About your industry.
Yeah. So I think a lot of valid points which Neetu added here, and these other things that people need to maneuver. But if you look specifically in tech, and I think Divya can also relate to it, we both being from the tech field. First of all, there is not much at the entry level, right? So there is a very less women representation when it comes to STEM fields, and that has got a lot to do from the point of view that it's societal norms, it's how the cultures are. It's also got to do with some sort of stereotyping in terms of whether women can do stuff which is technical or empirically oriented, or which has got more of maths and science in it, or are they better suited for something which is more HR or which is more people oriented. So that's a bit of a stereotype, because we always believe that men take charge, women take care. So that's how you kind of bifurcate their roles and their capabilities. So one is that has to go, and that has to go at a belief level. I think there is nothing which stops people from enrolling into technical fields. There is no barrier there, no entry barrier, and it has got more to do with the mindset and how the society perceives. It's also got to do with how we perceive ourselves. Women have a lot of self-doubt. They believe they can't do tech. So when I was doing my studies and when I was doing my degrees, I had a lot of fellow girls and brilliant students, very good in academics. Women are more sincere than men in general when it comes to studies. So they're very adept at studying, noting, all of that stuff. And they're generally very sincere in the stuff that's given to them. But their doubt would be there that no, we can't do this. We are better suited for softer sciences. Also, the fact that we sometimes हम बहुत ज़्यादा आगे का plan करने की कोशिश करते हैं. So when we are like 10, 15 years old, we try to plan for when we'll be 30, 35, and we think that, oh, when I'll be married, I won't have time to kind of devote to the career that I'm choosing right now. So let me take HR, which will help me be in an office and not travel much, or let me pick up arts, or let me pick up something which is more comfortable and where I can balance my work and life. And I think we do a lot of analysis paralysis there, if I may use the word. So that's the part where I would like to say that first, the ushering in the STEM has to happen. Once that has happened, then there has to be a lot of initiatives which have to happen at a grassroots level. So while there are a lot of women in the urban areas who would have access to digital and technical literacy, as well as digital and technical tools and devices, like the example Neetu quoted about, if there are 2 mobiles in the house, it goes to the male and it doesn't go to the women. It won't happen in an urban setting, but if you go in a rural setting, that might as well be the case. So you don't have access to these kind of stuff, so obviously your literacy and your knowledge at that level gets limited. So let's say if I'm somebody who's coming from a marginal background, from a tier 3, tier 4 kind of a city, and if I want to start a business of my own, nowadays there's a concept called homopreneur. So entrepreneur is one, this is homopreneur. If I don't understand how the payment system works, if I do not know how microloans work, if I don't understand how to navigate through devices and internet, and if I don't understand how to safeguard myself from cybersecurity challenges, I'm doomed. I can't do anything, and even if I've got great ideas with me. So digital literacy at that level can really help, and I think the government has also been doing things around that. So you have initiatives like, there is PMG Disha. You have initiatives even from corporate CSRs, like there's a Google Sathi. So there are things which focuses on digital literacy, and it has got more of a train the trainer model, and women get educated and then they educate further. And through this, I think a lot of progress has been made in women's digital and technical literacy. There are platforms which support women, like in Amazon, if you go, Amazon has got an Amazon Saheli store, which kind of helps you with that entire selling part of listing and how do you go about and do it. Meesho is a platform I think many of us would know over here, which supports women who want to, through the reseller model, want to get into business Great platform to have. M-Pesa gives you microloans. So many other companies which give microloans to and group loans to women. So for them to know this stuff at a tier 3, tier 4 rural level, that kind of literacy has to happen. Because I think in urban, we are still doing good. We are doing pretty great. But if you go where the majority of the women folks lie and they need help, that's going to be your tier 3, tier 4. And there I think these initiatives and interventions are really going to help. I think corporates are also focusing on it a lot through their CSR activities and other things. But yes, I think there's a lot of contribution that we can make there and, kind of make changes at a grander level if we kind of make interventions at that level.
Okay. Divya, I would like to understand your perspective on gender challenges that we have seen in our career. What have you observed over the years in your industry? Thoughts on that?
Okay. So, in all good spirit, I would like to put forward a slightly different perspective.
Okay.
Let me begin by explaining the context of what I am going to say now. So, why did we need the diversity, equity, and inclusion programs at the workplace? Let's just first understand that in the terms of how we are biologically built. And we are on an evolution journey right now. If we go back to our primal survival mechanisms, go back to the times when Adam and Eve were born. The purpose of the Homo sapiens from the human being standpoint was to progress the world by reproducing. Men had the job description of providing, and women had the job description of reproducing. That was the main two job descriptions for each gender. Cut to today's modern world, where women have now assumed the role of reproduction, being a nurturer as well as the provider. Now, this has led to difference in, the dynamics between men and women changed because the role of women changed. And that was the exact reason why, if we wanted to build healthy workplaces, we needed to have sensitization and awareness programs to handle the biases of both men and women. Given the same context, now as we are talking about having more and more women in the workforce, do we think we need to now go back to Adam and Eve and understand what were the dynamics and biases between women to women relationship? Do we think that's the need of the hour? In my perspective, yes. I could be completely wrong. You may have a different perspective, but in all good spirit and for the shared purpose of making all of this community a success, there is data backed by science. If we read the book Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari, he has clearly articulated the same dynamics between men and women on the basis of which the DAI programs have been designed. Now let's take an understanding of how women to women dynamics used to work in the primal world. Purpose was same, reproduction. Population आगे बढ़ानी है. So then, two basic dynamics, competition, cooperation. Why competition? To find a perfect mate for reproduction, child bearing. Cooperation, to find a woman partner for child rearing, right? So if we now come back to the modern world, where now we take a look at these two aspects or these two dynamics between women at workplace, the cooperation has become collaboration, because when we talk about work-life balance, there will always be collaboration. Now women have changed, assumed the additional role of being a provider, which means in the corporate scenario, if we look at it, for example, if we are fighting with each other for leadership position, then the competition, the same primal basic human instinct of competition may kick in. So the point that I'm trying to drive here is that we have said and done a lot to handle men and women dynamics at the workplace, and we are still, we are doing it. But as the women in the workforce is increasing, I think there is a need of the hour to include women to women dynamics to handle the biases between women that happen within the DEI program.
It's a very different perspective.
Yes,
but,
it
but
is. It is backed by scientific data. I
Great.
may be wrong, there could be different perspectives, but since this is a safe forum, I thought of putting this thought
Absolutely,
forward on the
absolutely.
table.
Right,
I wanted to say
but
that.
our work doesn't stop at the workplace, right? We are working 24/7. I think we have been talking about work-life balance. It's the biggest debate across the globe. 90 hour करना है या फिर weekend में काम करना है, right? Or quality work करना है, and this is the biggest debate. Shilpa, I want to know your perspective. You're leading your organization from front. How does one manage career growth, personal life, and still make sure that you are doing well in terms of your numbers in office as well as at home? Right? This question looks very simple, but I think it's very important for all of us, and I would like to hear your thoughts as well.
Actually, what all we are talking, I'm getting so many examples in my mind which I have gone through. But one good example I would like to get, and I had really forgotten about it. So, I had one colleague of mine, she was my team member, and so I'm digressing from the subject for a while, but this is a good example that I thought I should share. And she got a long service award for completing 15 years in the organization. And that day she came to me and she said, I could have my second child only because of you. And I was just listening to her because I had forgotten everything. And then I said, why are you saying so? So she said, no. At that point of time, I was so concerned, what will happen? How will I progress my career? Because I was having a second chance, I'm already having first kid. I will be taking so many leaves, or I will be going on the maternity leave. Because I'm talking about a long back. I'm talking somewhere around 2014, at that point of time. And you were the only one who gave me confidence that this phase will go through. I am there, don't worry. There is a big team and we will support you any way you want. Huh? So because of that, I could do this. But at the same time, let me tell you, there was a reporting which was going on, and it was a completely new setup because we had just started with shared services. And I had called up that lady at 2 o'clock in the midnight because entire team was working. We were working whole night to meet the deadline. And that point of time, she got up, she opened up a laptop, and she had helped me out because she was knowing how to do that. So I was remembering that, but she was remembering something different because I was having some guilt in my mind that I had woke up somebody at 2 o'clock in the morning. And then she was having a sort of, memory of mine that I supported her throughout her journey for 2 years when her kid was young. And she was told me, because of your support, I could go through it. So this is a very different example I'm thinking. But at the same time, women also help women a lot. That's what I have experienced also in my career journey. But now, coming to the challenges what we are facing in the workplace, so I have some different perspective to share here. So I believe a lot in the woman being financially independent. And I personally feel that we should really think what are our financial needs, and while we are working, we should plan very well for our financial needs through the savings in time. Because at some point of time in our career, we would need to take some unconventional decisions. And that time, if we are financially independent, then we will able to take those decisions without depending on anyone, and we could be independent. So this is applicable, I think, to women at every level, at any stature in the whole universe, because it could be your financial needs may differ depending who you are, but I think that independence is very important, and then that will able to take care of you, I suppose, when you are in the crisis, and then when you have to take a very different decision, that will give you a lot of confidence to take that decision. So this is what I firmly believe. In terms of the challenges, of course, the work-life balance is the common one that each and every woman face. And of course, my husband was always working from another city. So I was having a lot of responsibility even at home front to manage things. But of course, I suppose every woman need to develop an ecosystem, in terms of whom she can depend on at times, so that, like she said, her mother-in-law was carrying her child in her hand, and then she was. So we need to have that ecosystem built, and at that point of time, maybe we have to make some emotional sacrifices. We have to make some trade-offs, but that is something is absolutely essential, because finally, at the end of the day, we have to carry both the responsibilities. And if you are very clear in your mind, what are your priorities? Like, I need to prioritize this at this point of time and this at this point of time, or both at the same time, then that will give you a lot of clarity how you need to work. So that is work-life balance for me. So even if I'm working till midnight or till 2 o'clock in the night, but at that same day, if I've attended the school gathering or teachers meet for my son, that is fine with me. So it all depends on how you prioritize and what sort of, you should be very clear in your mind what you want to think of. That's the thing. And another thing very important, because at some point of time in our career, we will get a period that we are very down emotionally. We will not feel that I should go to work on the next day. So that will happen in our career at any point of time. So we again have to have someone who can mentor us, who can guide us, who can take us through that emotional period, because it may not be for a day, it could be for months together. And then we should see that we have someone, or we should develop those kind of relationship over a period of time in our life, so that it will help us. My suggestion is be self-confident always. Do not allow yourself to, down your self-esteem or self-confidence. The ups and downs is a part of life, and you just have to go through it.
Great. Dr. Rima, I want to ask you, again, the same topic we're talking of, work-life balance. Do you believe that flexible policies in work-life balance can help in a specific organization? Maybe some thoughts on that. You're from the HR function.
So incidentally, I have a privilege. The privilege is, because my role is global, so similar interactions I have with my colleagues and team members who are Americans, Europeans, Filipinos, people who come from all genders, men, women, LGBTQ+. So I get a lot of perspectives there. And because I come from the tech world, and name any industry, we would have a company in that industry who we are enabling through our digital transformation capabilities. So because of that, I have got this perspective that the biggest enemy for women in their success, what's the biggest enemy? All of it is true, what you're actually coming up with, but I feel the biggest enemy is perception, which is backed by social norms, the mindset, right? And where that's important, so even Sheryl Sandberg had mentioned that success and likability, there is a correlation. And this correlation is different for men and women. For men, it is directly proportional. You're successful, you're likable. And for women, unfortunately, inversely proportional. Right? So from the nods, I can sense that this is so relatable. We have all faced that, right? We do have old boys gang, right? Information flows, they go for a smoke. Even women do, but I don't think that kind of bond gets established in those smoking sessions. For men, it does. Do we get to hear of old girls gang? Not really, right? Maybe the term old doesn't suit us that much. As they say, how men and women greet. When men meet, they would probably greet each other with a gali. When women meet, they would meet each other with a compliment. Yeah. And as they say, none of them means anything. So there is that inherent difference. Now, this flexibility aspect, yes, it's important because somewhere possibly we hold ourselves responsible for the care aspect. Nobody has told us. Maybe in some households it's told that XYZ, you have your work, but these other things are your priority as well. And in some households, it's not told. It's inherent. We are born different. Our mental makeup is different in so many ways. Even now, with my globe-trotting schedule, I would still at times come back home at maybe 11 o'clock and still want to cook a chicken dish for my daughter. She doesn't expect it. My husband, mother-in-law, they jump in, what are you doing in the kitchen at this time of the night? But I say that I do it because I want it, which is where probably this flexibility aspect becomes very important for us because we want to be in a caregiving role. We want to cherish our motherhood and all these things. And that's where policies are of help. I was fortunate to be in an organization where I got promoted from senior manager to AVP in the same year when I had delivered my baby.
Wonderful.
I have introduced policies to say that stop this regressive habit of making women the automatic meets expectation person if that year they have taken maternity leave. You can't do that. It's all about the deliverable, all right? In my current organization, Datamatics Global, I'll just give you some statistics. So at a junior management level, our percentage of women representation, 38 to 42%. It peaks because we are a very financial services heavy organization, and hence there are times when there are spikes, and it's women who come in the forefront and get trained in those processes and work as if their life depends on it, because they are all career women, even if they're coming from tier 2, 3 cities, And now let me talk about the apex level. We have our board, and 2 out of 5 independent directors are women. What's the percentage? 40%. So I always believe that it's not about a quota or anything like that, that I have to have X%. It's all about merit. However, the responsibility of creating an ecosystem which is able to nurture these women professionals who may not always be coming from an advantaged and privileged background, that is ours. And if we are able to give this flexibility to women, again, we have a track record of doing that. And even 25 years back, we had set up operations in a village in Karnataka, Bellary. And then in Andheri East also, we had set up operations where women would come, take the work from us, do HTML tagging and all of that, and we would train them and come back and give us the work. And yesterday I was talking to my chairman and co-founder, Dr. Lalit Kanodia, and he mentioned, Rima, I was inspired by Lijjat Papad example. So they had this, at a central place in the village, the dough would be there, women would take it back, make the papad and come back. So just imagine when this is extrapolated in the technology industry, there is so much of potential that can be nurtured, right? And it's a great business proposition. So if it is in your authority, and I'm sure in some way or the other you can influence decisions at whatever level you are, try to have more of flexible policies for women. It will work wonders. Thank you.
Thank you. I wish this conversation can be never ending, but side se Ashish keh raha hai, time up. Okay.
Just a minute, I would like to put disclaimer because I've said about something about work-life balance and working late night. So, so please don't quote me because those are my personal views and personal experiences, which I've shared, nothing to do with the organization. So, would just like to put that caution with whatever is going on right now.
Sure, we have noted that.
Absolutely. That disclaimer is very much required because those were the experiences which I shared, which were the erstwhile. But definitely, I would like to put that disclaimer.
Noted. I have one last question. One last, okay? And this is for all the incredible ladies sitting out here. What's that one change you would like to see in business world for the women in leadership? And this is for all of you. One change.
I strongly feel Companies Act 2013, we heard that earlier too, propagated one director on board. I went back that time also writing saying, why can't you put up a 10-year plan saying within 10 years you should have 50% of directors being women on board. I mean, how else do you then inculcate women to stay behind and grow? Thank you. So that you can one day take the director role, right? Sometimes if the carrot hasn't worked, the stick has to work. Why don't you force companies to get a policy out? And I think I will pursue this even further. I will need your support. You guys should also write back saying, why not? Maybe take 10 years, take 15 years. Let the organization take 15 years, but in 10 to 15 years, at least get 50% of the board as women directors.
So I would take one more example.
Sure.
So around 6 months back, in Economic Times, I read one article. In fact, I didn't read it. Somebody told me that this is the case, and then I went back and read. So there are less than 100 CFOs and directors in the listed entities in the country. So that is the population we are talking, that these are so many less number of women directors and CFOs on the listed entities. So that is the aspirations for all of you, you know.
Lovely.
So that's something. And of course, what I feel that because there are less number of ladies at the top, I think mentorship is something very important. Because if there is a lady mentor, the way lady will open up is quite different if she has a male mentor. Because there would be some always gender basis differences and different examples. So for me, one change is mentorship.
So, okay, not a very popular view, but I'm not a feminist, but I'm a huge proponent of equality. So I think one change that I would, rather see in the business world for women is that we get paid for the same amount of work that my male counterpart does, which also means that if my male counterpart is working in the office and slogging for a deadline till 3 in the night, I do the same. So we do the same amount of work, we do the same amount of hustle, and we get the same kind of career opportunities, and we get the same kind of recognition and the same kind of pay. If the equality piece is there, I think we'll not really need feminism.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think for me, it would be spreading awareness through backed with scientific data about, I think, 27 human biases exist. So all those 27 biases, if those could be spoken about, discussed about openly, so that men and women both understand about these biases, and we come on the common ground of treating each other with real equality that we really want to see in each other, irrespective of the gender, because leadership is all about being gender agnostic. So I think this is not being discussed. I had also initiated a conversation, but this needs lot of deep dive into human psychology actually. So I would be very happy to work for an organization where these 27 biases are being openly discussed, accepted, acknowledged, and decisions are taken on the basis of data generated from these biases.
What's that one change for you?
So one thing is a little difficult to talk about, but maybe I can refer to a research paper I have co-authored with my global head of data sciences. And that is on a proprietary framework that we put up as to 12 factors which help in the ascension of women leaders in corporate. So you know my name, we can get connected on LinkedIn, and if you want a copy of that, I can always share a copy of that research paper. But the most important thing, more than corporates, I would say it lies first with us. If you want to work 4 hours only, make it clear. Choose that profession. If you want to work 10 hours, 12 hours, 16 hours, it's your choice, totally. And choices are different, just like we people are different, right? If that is your choice, make it very clear, make it known to the world that you are up for any kind of challenge. Most of the time, women don't do that, yeah? Thank you.
Lovely, lovely. It's been a pleasure talking to all of you. Thank you so much for your time. And thank you to the audience for listening to us patiently. Thanks a lot. Have a great evening.
Thank you so much. Please give a huge round of applause to our lovely panel. I'll just take a moment, Mamsi. You just have to felicitate to all our panel members. Yeah, of course.
Please.
My point is, my industry is not like corporate. I work in industry, it's been 18 years. I've started from being a model to assistant director to production assistant to entrepreneur to a filmmaker to a producer. I do all of that. I work with IBM in corporate, so I've done a mix of jobs. I worked in international, so Dubai, so the racism was also there, a part of it, not just being a woman in a setup, also that. But in our industry, it is assumed when a woman comes and works, she's good for costumes, she's good for art, because she's a girl, because that's how it is. But I could fight back. I had the confidence or the passion. I'm here. I'm still surviving. I wake up every day with a mission that I'm going to do something great today. So that is there inbuilt. But as an industry, I think the number of filmmakers who are women is very less for us in general. That count, we don't have a law somewhere for that. And I think this conversation somewhere, kind of made me feel that we should speak about it more, because in film industry, it is not a rule that every production house should have at least one filmmaker every year, for a film, which is not happening. So I think this just helped me to probably propose this to the people, because I'm in some advisory board with some organization. I will propose this idea, because not just being woman is not a qualification. Being a qualified, talented woman who can execute is what matters. So let's not use gender as, our quality or our reason for appreciation. Let's be good enough and prove that we can lead anyone, man.
Can I just... Mamsi, you have to pass the one, Mehjabeen. To all the panelists, please come forward. I just want to have one group photograph, please. Yeah, please hold your certificates. Yeah, you can. Yeah, of course. Of course.